Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys Men's Olympic Hockey Edition for Tuesday, February 17th. Well, for the games taking place on Tuesday, February 17th. Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down the Tuesday slate. As now we get to the good stuff. The preliminary round is finished, and now it is win or go home time the rest of the way here in the Men's Olympic Hockey Tournament, starting with Tuesday, where we have 4 games in what they are calling the playoff round of this tournament. And then, of course, there are 4 teams that are on have a bye to the quarterfinals, and those 4 teams will await the winner of the Tuesday playoff game. So it is going to be Slovakia, Canada, Finland, and the United States. The 4 teams with byes to the quarterfinals on Wednesday, and Slovakia will get the winner of Germany versus France. Canada will get the winner of Czechia versus Denmark. Finland will get the winner of Switzerland versus Italy, and the United States, and this is why I spoke about it, why it was important to try to get the 1 seed, which Canada did, and the U.S. getting the 2 seed. There's a possibility the U.S. may get Sweden in the quarterfinals on Wednesday, because they will get the winner of Sweden and Latvia. Now, crazier things have happened. I'm not going to say for sure that Latvia's got no chance in that game, but obviously, you would think Sweden's got a really good chance to get past Latvia and set up a matchup with the U.S. So that is the way the format works. And of course, we got those 4 playoff games Tuesday to see who will advance to the quarterfinals to face those 4 teams that got a bye into the quarterfinal round. We'll start with looking back on Sunday just briefly, because now that the preliminary round's over, I don't want to go into it in too much detail, other than the best bet, which was unfortunate, was U.S.-Germany over 6.5, falls short with that 5-1 result for the U.S. in that game. But other than that, it was a pretty good, solid Sunday overall. I guess the other thing I would say that was frustrating was Latvia, another draw that was right there in a Latvia game, and we just narrowly missed cashing it when it comes to Latvia. So, like I said, but they were competitive, although they did end up losing 4-2 to Denmark. Denmark putting in the empty net goal there to put that game away yesterday. No question, that was entertaining. Sweden got going, obviously over. Actually, I think that game was the other day, but yeah, it was certainly interesting to see how that game played out. But Latvia has been competitive. Like I said, we did take a shot with the draw in that Latvia game against Denmark, but it ended up 4-2 in favor of Denmark. Latvia outshot Denmark 35-20 in that game. How about Switzerland? A 4-3 overtime win against Czechia. And Czechia has been one of these teams, Alex, that just haven't been firing on all cylinders in this tournament.
Yep.
They just haven't. They've been, for what we expected of them, sending a team over there that's got, a decent amount of game breakers led by David Pasternak, a decent amount of NHL representation. To see them kind of sputter at times in this tournament. Now, look, Canada was one of their opponents, and they lost 5-0. No shame in that. But I'm talking about the non-Canadian opponents that they've played in this tournament. Like that game that they played, obviously, against France was very, very lackluster, where they're up 2-0. France gets 3 unanswered in the second period, actually takes a 3-2 lead before Czechia responds to win 6-3. And then, of course, yesterday, they end up losing 4-3 in overtime to Switzerland. So, like I said, it's just been, 1 win, 1 regulation, 1 regulation loss, 1 regulation win, and then, of course, the overtime loss against Switzerland yesterday. So it's just been, not as great as maybe I thought, because I have a ticket with Czechia to get a medal in this tournament, and they're going to have to step it the fuck up a little bit here in the medal round if they're going to cash that ticket for me. So there's still room for improvement for Czechia. Not much to say about the Canada game. They did what we all thought they would. 10-2 beat down over France. We knew they were incentivized to run up the score, pile up the goals for goal differential purposes to ensure that they finished with the 1 seed in the preliminary round, and they were able to do that 10-2. I just wish I had bet more on that because we talked about it on the show Sunday that whether it was Canada team total overs, maybe alternate team totals, alternate full game overs, like there may be no slowing down this Canada assault, knowing that they needed the goal differential comes into play, and they needed to pile up the goals, and they sure did. 10-2 there over France. And I think because Canada won by such a big margin, Alex, 8 goals, that pushed their goal differential to plus 17 for the tournament. The U.S. took the ice against Germany for that last game yesterday with a plus 7 goal differential. I know they would still try to come out there and try to score goals, but who's kidding who? What player on the U.S. team took the ice against Germany saying, yeah, we're going to catch Canada for first with goal differential, plus 7, they're plus 17 against Germany, which, you're going to beat Germany by 10? Pretty unlikely that was going to happen. So I think it hurt the over, quite honestly, because part of the reason I like that over so much USA-Germany is because USA was going to have major incentive to score a ton of goals, but then they see Canada put up a 10-burger on France, and they realize we're not catching these guys for first seed. We're way too far behind in the goal differential department to catch them. So I think that kind of impacted things a little bit. It looked like a U.S. team more focused on getting the win, securing the win, winning the group, more than just, running up the score in that game. But they did what they had to do. It was a solid enough effort, and they beat Germany there by a score of 5-1 yesterday. And we had my first bargain bin special yesterday on the show. Although that was the bargain bin that cashed for me is the one that I teased on the show when I recorded it on Saturday night, the one that I saved for our Patreon members. Because I gave out Brock Nelson on the show, and I gave out Alexander True for Denmark on the show as my 2 bargain bins, and I said a bonus 3rd bargain bin for Patreon members, and that bonus 3rd bargain bin was Timmy Stu for Germany, and he cashes at plus 320, a great price. He's had a terrific tournament offensively for Germany, so great to be able to cash that. It's also great, Alex B. Smith being back on the show. Alex, good to see you again. Your thoughts on what we saw Sunday?
Yeah, like I said, it always is interesting when you're tying bets in a tournament format to how things are going to project. When we talk about the reference to Canada, the U.S., and the goal differential, and like I said, that was still a worthy bet to make. Could have easily cashed with that over, with the way, like I said, the U.S. still piling on the offense there, and getting that goal from Germany certainly would have helped. Would have been nice to have a little bit more offense from Germany there, but it's like I said, you have mindsets can differ within a tournament style setup when you're betting, something like this. And that's now where we're getting into the point of, okay, you don't have to worry about, goal differentials and different things. All you got to do now is win at this point. And now it gets a little bit easier. It's a little less cloudy as far as, how to bet these games. Prices are, of course, varying. We were talking about that before we got on the air about how some books props, you have to wait a little bit longer before they're posting numbers. You're going to have to obviously still shop around, because I'm seeing variances just in money line prices alone. You talk about Switzerland, you're only 20-1 at one book. You can get, a minus 1,600 at another book. So you're still getting those wide gaps. So you still have to definitely have your multiple books, shop around, really pinpoint. But things get a lot easier to bet. You don't have to worry about if a team's looking ahead to a certain factor, or like you said, trying to worry about a goal differential, things of that nature. It's just clean cut. Win in advance, survive and move forward. And there's a couple of spots here where I think, like I said, it might get a little interesting. I don't think this is just going to be all favorites moving forward. We've seen some competitive play from some of these dogs early in the preliminary round. I think there's a couple teams that we were looking to be, playing better hockey at this time that aren't, and I think they might be in some trouble. So looking forward to breaking down it.
No doubt. And like I said, the preliminary round was nice. I'm just very happy after a rough, we kind of got hit upside the head the first 2 days of betting this tournament. It was nice to see a turnaround. Friday was good. Saturday was really good. Sunday, was even, but the U.S. Germany over falling short really hurt. If we cash that, it's definitely a nice profitable day. It was more break even because of that, but still, we had the bargain bin. So still, it's been a lot better here these last 3 days. But now this is when it gets good. Now it's win or go home. Single elimination games the rest of the way. What I don't like, Alex, is, and I guess we shouldn't complain too much. I mean, they're trying to make it good for the people that are there in Italy going to these games. But why are 2 of the 4 games tomorrow at 6:10 a.m. Eastern time? Can we not put 2 of them at 10:40 a.m. Eastern time or in the afternoon session to make it better for the North American folks? The best fucking hockey league in the world is the NHL, and it's played in North America. Maybe it would be nice to have the time of the day to have 2 games on at the same time, maybe at 10:40 a.m. Eastern time or 3:10 p.m. Eastern time, not at 6:10 a.m. Eastern time. So that's a bit frustrating. I think that's absurd. It doesn't make any sense to me. What do you think about that?
Add that to the mountain of lies that have been spewed by Gary Bettman and everybody else in a suit in the National Hockey League saying this whole tournament was to grow the game.
Yeah.
The production has been awful. The production has been fucking awful. Like I said it on the last time I was on the show. Yeah, give me 4 nations every year. Get rid of the All-Star game. Don't deal with the IHF and the IOC. Just do 4 nations every year and rotate your 2 nations. If it's not Finland and Sweden, get one of them out that loses and bring in a Russia, bring in a Czechia. But yeah, the production value of this as a whole has been just it's not good. It's just simply not. And as an NHL fan and NHL fans, we expect the level. We bitch about NHL production all the time. My goodness, I will be a lot easier on ESPN and Turner Sports moving forward and FanDuel Network.
They look like they know what the hell they're doing compared to this.
Oh my God. The score bug got smaller. I was watching the women's US Sweden game. That score bug's fucking smaller now. I don't understand it. It should be larger. We should be able to see. I should be able to just clearly see across the room, how many shots on goal each team has. Like it's been a mess as far as a production standpoint, in my opinion. The games have been great. Like I said, the hockey's been fine, but everything else, the timing, the way that you can't even tell if it's intermission. All of a sudden, oh no, okay, now that everybody's popping up and talking about, we don't see any highlights. You don't catch the highlights during intermission. You're not catching any highlights anywhere else. Can't find a highlight online. I spent 2 hours trying to find maybe somebody pirated a highlight of that Tim Stützle goal so I could cut the bargain bin highlight. Nowhere to be found. It's been a nightmare on that level.
It's tough. It's tough, and obviously the time difference for folks here in Canada and the United States make it even more difficult. And like I said, I just think, your base audience is the people in North America that watch the NHL. It's your season ticket holders. It's the people that, buy the jerseys, support the teams year round in Canada and the US, and you're going to bury them with 2 games at 6:10 in the morning at Eastern time with the playoff round. Totally absurd.
On a work day, no less. It'd be one thing if it was today, President's Day, where people have the day off, but no, you're going to do it the day after. And like I said, it's a mess. And if you're trying to build momentum into getting people ready for the playoff race, that is going to be a fantastic playoff race. Let's not discourage that. The next 52 days of NHL action, I am so excited for. And you want to have this to also ramp up that momentum. It's hard to do that when you're talking about getting ready for work and having to watch a game at the same time.
Yeah, no question. Like I said, just the schedule, logistics of it just have not been, ideal. But I will say this, I'll give them credit for one thing, is that Wednesday, the quarterfinal round, it's a lot better. You only have the one real early game at 6:10 a.m. Eastern, and then 10:40 a.m. Eastern, Canada's quarter, 12:10 p.m. Eastern, Finland's quarter, and then 3:10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, the United States quarter. So, like I said, that's better, at least. I can live with that. But putting 2 of the games on, at 6:10 a.m. Eastern time, like I said, for the folks that, in North America, you're not doing them a solid when you're doing that nonsense. All right, that's enough of the rant. Let's talk about the games coming up Tuesday. Playoff round, we begin with Germany and France. Germany minus 750, money line favorites, -3 on the puck line. France plus 520, underdogs +3 on the puck line. And the total here, 6.5 in this game. You look at this French team so far in this tournament, and what they've done. It's obviously a team that when you look at most of the teams they play in this event, they're going to be undermanned. They have 2 NHL players, Alex Tessier, and, well, I can't even say Pierre-Edouard Bellemare because he's a former NHL player. But Pierre-Edouard Bellemare used to play, obviously, in the NHL for some time. But, yeah, they've definitely had a tough time of it for sure. after Italy, they're the weakest team left in this, playoff round. There's no question. I mean, France has got outscored 20-5 in their 3 group play games. So a 20-5 margin for the opponent over France. Now, a lot of that was Canada. We must admit that 10-2 was a little bit better against the other teams, but still, it's a team that probably you would think on paper is going to have a little bit of a difficult time here against Germany. Now, I will say this about Germany. Turka has been kind of quiet. I think Leon Draisaitl can up the ante a little bit more for this team. Tim Stützle has saved the day for Germany. Like, he has been excellent. But it's actually some of the other forwards up front for this German team that I think you could, say you could use a bit more. I know Alex said for years you could use a bit more from Philip Kurashev when he was a member of the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah. So that's not a shock to hear that we need a little bit more from him in this tournament for Germany. But like I said, there's definitely some players that could pick it up. Even Leon, so far, who's had an indistinguishable tournament, I guess you could say, so far to this point. But, they might be able to here in this game against France, because certainly this is a French team that, as we've said, they've conceded 20 goals in the 3 games in group play. Now, again, 10 of those were against Canada. But still, when you look at the games outside of playing Canada for France in this tournament, they played Switzerland the first game of the tournament, and they gave up 4 goals. And then they gave up 6 goals to Czechia in the second game, although they did get on the board 3 times. But the thing is, it felt like Czechia just fell asleep for a bit, and France just stunned them for 3 quick goals, and then that woke up Czechia, and then France went back, and then Czechia took the game over again. But the bottom line is, the one thing we have seen, 10 goals allowed to Canada, 6 to Czechia, 4 in the shutout loss to Switzerland. They've given up goals, this team. Germany's got, on paper, the offensive firepower to make them pay for, the issues they've had keeping the puck out of the net, including the defense as well in this tournament. Again, 4 is the lowest number of goals they've given up in a game, and that was to Switzerland. 6 to Czechia, and of course the 10 to Canada. I'm going to take a shot that Germany can get me 5 here in this game, because I do think Germany's attack with high-end offensive skill that they've got is comparable to Switzerland, maybe slightly more. It's close. So could they fall short and only get 4? Yeah, they could. But I think Germany, coming off the way they played against the U.S., I don't think they're going to be thrilled with that performance against the U.S. to end the preliminary round, losing 5-1. I think they've got a better game in them, certainly offensive game, after only scoring 1 against the United States. So the primary look here for me is going to be that over 4.5 team total for the Germany side. Over 4.5 at BetMGM for Germany team total is -130. It's a relatively decent price. I think there's a chance they could get 5 goals here in this game. That's certainly the way I prefer to look in this game. The total's tough, because I think Germany doesn't mind playing a shutdown game, and if they have the lead, and it's reasonable to think they're going to have the lead for a good chunk of this game, they can play a shutdown game. And we saw evidence against Denmark where I got burned with a Germany team total over, where they get the lead, they sit on it. But there's a difference. Denmark's got some, even with Freddie Anderson, and we have our issues with him, which we'll get to, I think he's still probably a step up from any goaltender France has in this tournament. No question about that. He's still an NHL goalie that's had a great NHL career. He hasn't had a great season, but he's still had an overall great career, and he's still better than what France is throwing out there in net. So I'm going to take a shot here. Germany can get team total over. I may look for an over at 5.5. I don't love it at 6.5, because I could see this being 5-1. I really could. 5-1 is a very possible final score. In fact, that correct score prop standpoint, that might be worth a sprinkle. Germany 5-1. I could see it being in that realm. I think Germany can get 5, but are you going to get the 2 that you need from France for sure to get over the full game total? I'm not so sure about that. They did score 3 against Czechia, but then they scored just 2 against Canada and shut out by Switzerland. So it's a little bit spotty with the France offensive output in this tournament. So I'll probably wait for a 5.5 total if it shows up to bet the full game over. But pregame, the main move for me is going to be Germany team total over 4.5. Alex, what do you think here, Germany, France?
I will definitely grab a piece of that correct score plus 1150 with 5-1, because I like France team total under 1.5. Grab that at plus 135 at MGM. I just don't, like I said, I don't think France will have it in this one. I really don't. I just could see this being a complete domination by Germany, offensively and defensively. And so getting a decent plus price with a 1.5 rather than just having to go with a shutout. I like that look quite a bit, but plus 1150 with that correct score, I will have a little piece of that as well. And I like Leon Draisaitl to get 2 goals. You only get plus 270 with that, but I thought that was funny. Like the comment, Kachuk spit at him and said, "Always a bridesmaid, eh? Never a bride." I thought that was pretty funny. So maybe that spurs him to kind of get things going offensively and get a couple on the board. But 5-1 definitely seems like a realistic final here with Germany, France.
Yeah, I think that's definitely. I think it's reasonable to think that because France could get on the board here. I mean, they did score 3 against Czechia, but part of me thinks too that was just one of those moments in time where Czechia just really, they had that a lapse for about a 5-6 minute stretch, but then when they got that wake up call after that, we certainly saw them be better, get back to their game pretty quickly.
It wasn't France showing offensive domination so much as it was Czechia just having a mental lapse defensively.
Yeah. That's kind of how it felt like watching that for sure. As far as props go, I'm going to be, Stutzla's been, you have to bet Stutzla. Obviously, you're not going to get great prices now because they're facing an inferior opponent. Like, we're not getting plus 320 on Tim Stutzla to score this time. No, minus 110, obviously, because they're playing France. But it's hard not to bet that with just how automatic he's been scoring. But I'll throw out a couple of value plays here. Szymanski for Germany is still on the top line. He's plus 240 at BetMGM. Freddie Tiffels plus 260. Like, they're flanking Draisaitl, these two guys. So, take a shot there if you're looking at some value. I mean, if you're going to look at anyone for France, I will say this. We know Tessier is the NHL guy, but Louis Boudon had 2 goals against Czechia, and he's been dangerous every game in this tournament for France. So if you're going to take a shot, who could be that 1 or 2 goal scorers possibly for France in this game? Louis Boudon could be one of those players you look at from a value standpoint here for France. He plus 375 at BetMGM for him. So that would be where I think there's a little value on the French side for a goal scorer prop. All right, our next game also for I don't know what reason, but also at 6 a.m. Eastern time, Switzerland and the hosts Italy. We've got Switzerland minus 1,800 money line favorites, minus 3.5 on the puck line. Italy plus 920 on the money line, plus 3.5 on the puck line, and 6.5 the total here in this game. This one's interesting because I think we all think Switzerland will win and advance here in this game against Italy. Does Italy get smoked like they did against Finland, or do they step up and they're competitive like they were against Sweden? Although they relied heavily on, Sweden got goalied in that game, even though they won 5-2. I mean, 60 shots, and Italy was still able to cover the puck line because of just unbelievable heroic effort from Damian Clara in net in that game. And against Slovakia, they only lost 3-2. Again, great goaltending effort from the other guy that's been in net for the Italians, Davide Fidani, who started against Slovakia, and he was very good in that game. But then Clara against Finland, and I think this is a product of the schedule, Alex, and the lack of depth for Italy catching up to them when they played Finland. And Finland had incentive to get goals because of the goal differential, and they hit a wall. They had nothing in the tank. You could tell early they were going to get absolutely steamrolled. You could tell early. I mean, it was all Finland. They got on the board with how many goals early in that first period, 3 or 4, and you knew it was going to be a rough day for Italy, and it was, 11-0 that game ended for Finland over Italy. Which Italian team is it? Is it the team that hung in there, dug in, just stayed competitive, just hung around, or is it going to be the team that just gets obliterated like they were against Finland? I don't know if Switzerland's got the offensive attack like Finland to maybe put up an 11 spot here in this tournament. We know there's still some good NHL players on this Swiss team. Make no mistake about that. But are they a team that you have full confidence is just going to turn this into a rout? That remains to be seen. You look at what we've got here with this Swiss team, Kurashev, Hischier, Meyer, Suter, Niederreiter, Andrighetto. He used to be in the NHL as well. There's guys that can put the puck in the net for this team and make a team like Italy pay for it, if they're going to be in the D zone all night. So it's a tricky game. One thing I know, and here's what I'm kind of banking on. I think Italy will be refreshed a little bit because now they've had 2 days off. They haven't had 2 days off since this tournament began. So the lack of depth and all the ice time and all the, it's exhausting to play defense in this sport. We know that. It's not fun to play defense. It's not fun to block shots. And it's not fun to play one game after another, after another, after another, Alex, when you're hemmed in your defensive zone for almost the entire game. And it takes a toll on you. It wears you out. It burns you out physically. It burns you out mentally. And that's why I think they hit a wall against Finland. But now you have 2 days of recovery, 2 days to be fresh, get that energy level and that back up, get that gas tank back up. I could see Italy coming out flying early. I don't know about over 1.5, but I think could they get on the board in the first period? Remember, they did against Sweden in their opener when they were coming off rest, obviously. It was the first game of the tournament. And they're going to have the home fans there. They're coming off a game where they got absolutely shellacked by a score of 11-0 to Finland. I am going to sprinkle in that, Italy to at least get on the board in the first period, because as we've seen with these first period team totals, some of them, you're getting absolutely incredible prices with a team like Italy to score in the first period. I'm looking at it right now at BetMGM. It's plus 155 for an Italy goal in the first period of this game, because it could be one of those games where with the rest and the enthusiasm, what could be their final game, of the tournament in front of the home faithful, come out storming early, or at least come out and try to get on the board early. So I think that from a situational standpoint and the way this game lays out, I think there's worse bets you can make than Italy to get on the board in the first period at a plus 155, which is one heck of a price going into this game. I don't know, though. Part of me also thinks, though, as the game goes on, the defense gets caved in again. And I don't know, is any of their goalies, assuming it's Clara, are they going to have 60 saves stand on their head, type of performance in them one more time? Not totally sure of that. So I think the Italy goal in the first period, I'm interested. I think the first period over, I like in this Swiss-Italy game. I think there's a chance we could see that. I mean, Alex, I know, mentioned to both teams to score. At least I don't know if he mentioned it, but I think it was on a card. I don't know if it was on one of the shows he was on, but I know he took a shot with an Italy-Slovakia, both teams to score in the first period at plus. That could be something to consider here, because I think there's probably a pretty good chance Switzerland might find the back of the net, obviously, in the first period as the big favorite they are in this game. But that's kind of what I like here, as the first period looks more than anything. Maybe an Italy first period goal, a first period over. Something along those lines here in this game. I lean to the full game over too. I might try to get cute and wait for a little bit better number and price in game, but I know Italy was able to keep unders with Slovakia, and Sweden game just squeaked over thanks to the empty net goals. But I think that I'm not fully on board with just Italy, because of the rest is going to find their defensive game for 60 minutes. I think early they're sharp, they're on their toes. They've got energy, but as the game goes on, we know who the better team is. The deeper team is the team that's got more NHL talent on it, and that's Switzerland. So that's why the Italy looks are more the early part of the game for me. First period over. I'll wait maybe for a little bit better than what I see now with the 6.5 for a full game over, simply because, like I said, that price right now is not the absolute best. That is for sure. 6.5 minus 140 is what we're looking at. Alex, what do you think here? Switzerland, Italy.
Well, considering we were talking about the host country in Milan with Italy, I have to say piano amico, which means slow down, friend, or not so fast, my friend, with that one.
Very good.
Because I'm liking the under. A little bit. Yeah, I know a little Italian. But I'm going under here. I like under 6.5, and there's a big discrepancy in price. You can either get minus $1.05 at BetMGM, or you can get plus 110 right now at FanDuel. I think this is going to be low and slow hockey. Like you said, Italy's going to have their energy level back, having the couple of days off. But who the hell is scoring for Italy? They know they don't have. They're not an offensive juggernaut. And you're playing a Swiss team that's heavy defensively, has one of the better European goalies. I just feel like this is going to be kind of a chess match kind of a game. And what you talk about with the first period over, both teams to score, I would be very careful with those. I think this could be kind of, that first, second round of a boxing match. They're just light jabs to feel each other out. And then we see the offense maybe open up a little bit more after they make adjustments after the first intermission. But I still don't see this going to be a game where we have more than 7 goals, honestly. So at a plus 110, I am all on this under.
There you go, under 6.5. Yeah, that's fair to say, especially if there's a chance Switzerland gets the lead. They can play a shutdown game. They've done it before, without question. And how much is Italy scoring? I would rather take my thinking here is with the 2 days off, and now they'll have a little bit of a bigger gas tank, and the energy will be back again after having to defend so much in those 3 games. That their opportunity to score Italy is that first period. But if they don't score in the first period, they may not score at all. That's kind of what you look at here. If it's not early, it may not happen for them here in this game against Switzerland. That being said, I'm not going to make him a bargain bin this time around. Maybe I got a little too crazy with Matthew Bradley for Italy as a bargain bin their last game. But still, he's got 2 of their goals. If someone's going to score for them, it's going to be him. Good chance that it's going to be him. So I still don't mind taking the shot there. Will not make him a bargain bin choice this time around, but still think worth a shot as far as a goal prop here in this game. The one thing I will not miss about this Olympic tournament is I'm going to have 5 or 6 different books open to try to give you guys accurate prices on these props. Whereas with the NHL, I have BetStamp open, and they give me all the prices at all the books in one spot. Can't do that with the Olympics. So I'm not going to miss that fucking part of this tournament. That's for sure.
Or prop markets being open at one book here and then waiting a few hours or another day for it to be open.
Or team totals at one book and not at another. Puck lines at one book, not at another. There's been so much of that. In the shots on goal, if for prop people, shots on goal at one book, not at another. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a headache with that for sure. But Matthew Bradley in that plus 425 range for sure. I'd be interested in some props like there. I mean, the price isn't great, but I'll tell you who's been a surprising leading figure offensively for Switzerland, and that's Pius Suter. Pius Suter's really had a nice tournament for Switzerland. Plus 150, at BetMGM for him to find the back of the net is not bad. In my opinion. So Pius Suter's had a really good tournament. Of course, you got Meyer, Heischier, in that minus, 130, 45 range to score. Niederreiter's plus 125. But I think the best value is Suter, quite honestly, once you get to plus 150.
As we're talking about with these, more than likely, right? We're talking about the last game for Italy and the last 2 games for Switzerland. We can start looking at these countries that are about to get eliminated with those NHL players.
Plus 200 at FanDuel for Suter. Oh, boy, even better.
What guys are we circling to maybe have a little bit of that hot momentum coming back into play? Pius Suter's a guy I would have circled that maybe he carries some of this momentum back here into North America and maybe can get on the board early with his club moving forward. So there's some guys I will be starting to circle in those spots. Pius Suter's definitely one.
Yeah, no question about that. I think definitely he's had a nice tournament. Let's give him credit. He's had a solid tournament for Switzerland, and I think there's a decent chance he can maybe keep that going for them here in this playoff round game as they take on Italy here in this one. All right, next up, we've got, this is a 10:40 a.m. Eastern start time here. Czechia taking on Denmark in this next game up. For Tuesday. Looks like currently we've got, as we get the lines up here for this game, there we go. Germany, Czechia and Denmark. There we go. All right. We've got, told you, there's now all the windows are closed. There we go. All right. Czechia is minus 425 or minus 410, I should say, money line favorite. On the puck line, they are minus 2. Okay, they're a flat minus 2 here as far as the puck line is concerned. Denmark on the money line is plus 325, plus 315, and their puck line obviously plus 2. And we've got a total here in this game of it looks like 6 shaded to the over at BetMGM, 6.5 shaded to the under at FanDuel. So again, shop around as far as this total is concerned. What have we seen from Czechia? They've been underwhelming so far. There's no question. The tournament's just been lackluster. 5-0, they get shut out by Canada. I do not hold that against them. That's how good Canada's been. But I didn't love what I saw from Czechia against France. They got the lead early, but then 3 unanswered goals, 3-2. You're not supposed to let, an inferior team not only back into the game, but take the lead on you. That's how bad that second period lapse was for them. But to their credit, they did rally the troops. They scored 4 unanswered goals after falling down 3-2 to beat France in that game 6-3. And then, of course, we saw them in the last game, very disappointing, 4-3 overtime loss to Switzerland in the last preliminary round game. So it's been an issue. And outside of getting shut out by the machine Canada, 2 straight Czechia games have gone over the total. 6-3 against France and the 4-3 loss against Switzerland. This could be the over by factor or even over trifecta. I think more over by factor. I don't know if Denmark's going to get on the board in the first period, but knowing how all of a sudden leaky, Alex, the Czechia defense has been at times, like they gave up the 5 to Canada, but more alarmingly, the 3 to France and the 4 to Switzerland in their last 2 games. Don't be surprised if Denmark's able to chip in, at least something here offensively in this game. Because we did see Denmark obviously get on the board against the U.S. when they played the States on Saturday. They were able to find the back of the net there in that game. And again, when you look at this Denmark roster, you still have Oliver Bjorkstrand and Lars Eller and Nikolai Ehlers. You still have some players up front that can do a little bit of damage for you. Nick Olsson, by the way, has had a pretty good tournament for this Danish team as well, a little bit down the lineup, but he's been able to produce and chip in for them. And we have seen some issues with the defending for this Czechia team so far in the tournament. And we love Lukáš Dostal, and he can't be faulted for the Canada game. He didn't play, obviously, in the Czechia game where they gave up 6 goals. He did play in the Switzerland game where they lost 4-3, but some of those goals were just, I don't know what he could have done. Some perfect, like the overtime winner is a perfect shot. There's not really much he can do there, but it's part of the problem that Czechia has had with giving up too many grade A chances and not being as sound and sharp and tight defensively, as they need to be. So this is definitely a game where I like first period over, full game over. And I really, really think Czechia, though, offensively will do some damage here. I really do. Because you look at Denmark, it's still a team that's a little shaky at the back end. Saw them give up the 6th spot it was to Team USA. They obviously gave up 3 to Germany in their first preliminary round game as well. So, like I said, there's still some question marks here with them at the back end a little bit. The 3 allowed to Germany by this Denmark team. And then, obviously, we saw over the weekend they gave up 6 to the United States. And, of course, they did shut down Latvia Sunday with the 4-2 win, but they gave up 35 shots to Latvia. That was a little bit alarming to see that. And, Latvia is not exactly a great offensive team compared to other nations in this tournament, but they were giving up shots and giving up chances, Denmark. So there's still some issues with them as far as defensively. And it goes without saying, are we 100% sold that Frederik Andersen shuts the door for Denmark in this game? We know he can be capable, but when you look at Freddie Andersen so far in the tournament, we saw obviously in the game against Germany, 3 goals on 26, 27 shots, and Germany really parked the bus in that game once they got the lead. There's a chance they get more goals than that, quite possibly. If they had kept their foot on the gas pedal, and they didn't do that. So, what will we get from Freddie Andersen here? Czechia does have obviously NHL firepower up front leading them. And that's going to be the interesting part. And they've also got guys that have, like a Roman Cervenka has been around a long time. He can chip in offensively. Marty Necas has been their best forward. Marty Necas has been great, but they need a little more from Pasternak. Actually could step it up a bit, quite honestly, here in this tournament. Hurdle, Palat, need a little bit more from some of those guys up front for Czechia. But I think they've got more offensive attack in them, especially Pasta. Pasta could pop off at any moment. Pasta in Italy has been the phrase I've heard uttered quite a bit in this tournament. This could be the spot for it. And I think he's due for one of those Pasternak games. Couple of goals, an assist, like a 3-point, 4-point game. Totally wouldn't shock me if it's here. So not only do I like the over by Fecta, I'm going to take the Czechia team total in this game over. I don't trust Freddie still fully. I get it. Freddie Andersen, I've still got to see it before I believe it. And with all due respect to Germany, you could say this could be the toughest test here for Freddie Andersen as far as what the opponent can throw at him especially offensively. I'm seeing the Czechia team total. What I'm going to do here is it's over 3.5 minus 175 at BetMGM. I don't even know if I'll dabble in that pregame. I might take a shot and wait for the first period to start up, get 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes without Czechia scoring, and then maybe find a cheaper over 3.5. Maybe I sprinkle pregame on it just ever so slightly, but most of this is going to be waiting for that 3.5 to come down to about minus 120 or better on the Czechia team total. So that plus the over by Fecta. What do you think here, Alex? Czechia, Denmark.
This should be a one-sided affair. I don't think it's going to be. I think this is going to be up and down hockey, and I like Denmark to get the upset here. I'm taking a shot with them plus 315. I like the overlooks. I like certainly that over 6 minus $1.18 at MGM. Probably wait for a first period over because I'm seeing 145s to 150s. But like I said, Czechia has not been impressive. And Denmark's hung around, even though they haven't played the best of talent. I think this could be, a game where both teams just say, hey, let's just lay it all out there and get things rolling. But I think if Denmark can get that first punch, and I'm seeing almost a plus 200 for them to score first goal in the first period, I might take a little shot at that. If they can get the first punch on Czechia, get that 1-0 lead, get some momentum and some confidence, I think this could be an up and down game, and I think Denmark could pull that upset off with this big of a plus price. So I will be on Denmark. I would be on Denmark first goal, first period, and I would certainly be on that full game over 6. Like I said, minus $1.18. Get that at BetMGM.
There you go. Yeah, get the 6. That's where I bet it. Over 6 is at minus 118, I believe it is, at BetMGM. So, yeah, take advantage of finding that number and finding that price there for sure with the total. Yeah, over 6 minus 118 at BetMGM. So, again, every half goal matters. You never know. Like, I wish I had 6 instead of 6.5 with Germany USA on Sunday. Yeah. I can tell you that. So yeah, every half goal absolutely does matter. So yeah, minus 11 over 6 minus 118. As far as goal props for this game, Marty Necas obviously has been their best goal scorer in this tournament. I don't think there's much doubt about that for Czechia. He's been solid. He's been finding the back of the net pretty consistently for them in this tournament. And he's plus 140, whereas Pasternak's like minus 105 at BetMGM. So you're still getting, believe it or not, decent price here with Necas plus 140 here at BetMGM. Ehlers plus 200. He's had a plus 210 at FanDuel. He's had a quieter tournament than you would think, but certainly still a guy that's got potential to find the back of the net at any moment with his NHL, obviously, background. So, definitely Necas, Hurdle, rely on those guys. I think if I were to look at someone down the board, I'd say Cervenka. Maybe look toward Cervenka for the Czechs. For Denmark, because I do think Denmark's getting on the board. I mean, Alex, I like the pick. I like the boldness taking Denmark, thinking they have a chance at the upset. But I think they will get on the board, Denmark. Like, Czechia has been leaky. Let's call it like we see it. Czechia has been leaky defensively in this tournament. There's opportunities that Bjorkstrand, Ehlers for Denmark can get on the board here for them in this tournament. Lars Eller, those guys for Denmark can find the back of the net. But I'm going to take a shot. Didn't work out with the bargain bin special, but he's had a bunch of chances. He's centering the top line for Denmark. I know this much is true. Alexander True for Denmark. Centering the top line with Ehlers and Bjorkstrand. To me, there's definitely some good value there with him for Denmark in this spot. And like I said, for Czechia, I would not overthink it. Necas, Pasternak, Hurdle, big games. You hope big game players, right? All that NHL experience. They're the guys to rock with for goal props, in my opinion, on the Czechia side. All right, last game for this Tuesday playoff round, 3:10 p.m. Eastern time is the start for this one on Tuesday. We've got Sweden taking on Latvia, and it is currently Sweden minus 1,100 money line favorites in this game, and minus 3.5 on the puck line. And we have Latvia plus 680 money line underdogs plus 3.5 on the puck line. And the total here at, it looks like 6. Again, this is another one where it's 6 shaded to the over at BetMGM, and it's 6.5 shaded to the under at FanDuel. So shop around as far as the total here for this game. This is my bold pick. It's not. I'm not picking Latvia to upset Sweden, but I'm going to be on the draw. I don't want to. I don't want to be in this spot where, let's say, Latvia plays Sweden hard, plays them tough, and it ends up going to, overtime or a shootout, and I'm not on it after betting at the last two Latvia games. I'd be so frustrated. I'd be so upset. So, and it was close. Let's be honest. These last two Latvia games were close to going to overtime. The Latvia-Germany game, it was right there to go to overtime. It just narrowly missed going to that extra session when the Latvia, that was 4-3 Latvia in that game. And the Latvia goal, it was actually Germany cut it to 4-3, but it was a one-goal game late. Denmark-Latvia was a one-goal game late, 3-2 Denmark, before Denmark put the fourth goal into the empty net. So we've been buzzing around a draw cashing in each of the last two Latvia games. And Latvia is a pesky bunch. They really are. And they're capable of being that way. Now, the concern would be with betting the draw here, did Sweden get their wake-up call against Slovakia? Because Sweden, obviously, that was their best game. After looking a little, they weren't good against Finland, although Saros played well. And then you could say they didn't play that great against Italy. 60 shots, and you're up by one against Italy in the third period. That's not great look for Sweden. And then, of course, they lost to Finland in their second game. So Sweden, kind of like Czechia, a little underwhelming, but they did look a lot better in their last preliminary round game Saturday against Slovakia, 5-3, although they fell asleep, but they allowed that third Slovakia goal in the final minute, not only to cover the puck line for me in that game at +2.5, which I loved, but also it allowed Slovakia to win that group, that goal they scored late against Sweden. So here's another team where at times defensively it's been up and down. There's been games where they haven't scored. They had a hard time. They had 3 normal goals against Italy because the last 2 were empty net goals, and then they only scored the 1 goal against Finland. So they have had some offensive issues. Now, they did finally get a little bit of an outburst against Slovakia, 5 goals. And what was good about that performance is Joel Eriksson finally got going. Kempe was great. Dahlin chipped in. Elias Pettersson, whipping boy for me and a lot of Vancouver Canuck fans. He had a 2-goal game for Sweden in that final preliminary round game against Slovakia. So I'm worried that Latvia, this firepower for Sweden woke up, got it going against Slovakia, and now it's just too much for Latvia to handle. And obviously Elvis Merzlikins, who you would think is going to start here, this winner go-home game, has to be great. There's no question. And he's had some glimpses since dating back to when Rick Bowness took over in Columbus in the NHL of playing great in net. But he's going to have to be that way here against Sweden, for them to have any chance here as far as the upset. But somehow, some way, Latvia seems to be able to hang around, and I cannot deny the great value in the draw bet, +775 at BetMGM for the draw with Sweden and Latvia. Again, this could get away from Latvia. I'm fully aware of that because Sweden finally got their offense rolling against Slovakia in their final preliminary round game. This definitely could get away from the Latvians here. If Sweden's dialed in, if they take too many penalties, because Sweden still does have a dangerous power play, that's going to be imperative for Latvia. Stay out of the damn penalty box here. But at +775, to look at that draw price, I think it's worth a shot. And that is the best price out there with the draw. BetMGM, +775, because it's +750 at Bet365. It's +600 at FanDuel. So that +775 is out there. I'm going to look I want to see how this game goes. I kind of think Sweden could erupt, even though I'm on the draw, but I want to see it first. I want to see how they start in this game. But I think you could make a decent case that maybe did the beast awaken against Slovakia with the 5 goals? Because if you buy into that finally Sweden got their wake-up call and they're ready to go here. They got 5 against Slovakia. The team total here for Sweden is 4.5 -120 at BetMGM. Looks reasonably cheap if you think they can duplicate the output they showed you against Slovakia, where they scored 5 goals. So I think there's good value on that Sweden team total over. It's kind of weird that I'd like that and the draw in this game. But that's kind of where that's kind of like if the draw has no shot whatsoever, it's probably because Sweden starts to pile up the goals and wins this game by margin, which they're fully capable of. no question. However, we have to factor in what are they going to do here with goaltending for this game, Sweden? Because we've seen it with Minnesota Wild goaltender Philip Gustafsson in this tournament. He's been less than stellar, would be the word I would put with Gustafsson. It started with that awful, all-time awful rebound control that he showed against Italy and that very early Italian goal that he gave up there in that game against Italy. And then I thought he was a little bit shaky, if you ask me, in the second game against Finland as well. Philip Gustafsson here. So that's the interesting part now for Sweden. Your other goalies are the other Wild goalie, Ballstead, who hasn't played yet, and Markstrom. So you got some decisions to make if you're the Swedish coach. Because, Alex, to me, I've seen enough vulnerability in Gustafsson when he's played in this tournament to be at least a little bit concerned. Now, Latvia is not chock full of dynamic firepower and NHL, bona fide options when you look at their roster. I know you have Vilmanis and you've got Girgensson. And by the way, I will be betting Trail Mix again. He's become my go-to player prop for Latvia. Scored now in back-to-back games for them. Edwards, Trail Mix, the best nickname, one of the best nicknames in hockey, that Trail Mix. It's great. But he's been good, and he's on the top line now for Latvia. So, yeah, we're going to go back to the well with Edwards, Trail Max for a goal prop, Trail Mix for sure. So it's a game where I'm all over the map, but I'm definitely going to be on the draw at the price you're getting. I kind of think there's a chance Sweden could push offensively and really make it challenging for Latvia. And I like the value in the 4.5. And the way I see it, if I have no shot to win the draw, there's a good chance it's because Sweden will get 5 goals here in this game. So that's the only pregame looks here. Sweden over 4.5 and the draw. Alex, what do you think here? Sweden, Latvia.
You made a great case for Latvia, but I really don't think they have much of a shot here, to be honest. I think Sweden has woken up. I think Sweden over 4.5 is a nice play at -120, and it's a good price. And I was just kind of shopping around, was looking to see, how can I line things up? Because I have some futures with Sweden, mainly Sweden to make the semifinal +240, which means I would technically have Sweden +240 against the U.S. should they advance to the next round. Probably will be adding more than that because I can't imagine that 240 will be the price. There'll probably be, I'm thinking +300, +320 range for Sweden against the U.S. head-to-head. But I think this is the reason why I like Sweden, making momentum and making it as far as futures goes, because I think they can, use this game against Latvia to, like I said, get things, really lined up, and then they could sneak up and beat a team like U.S. The U.S. as well, there's still been some glimpses where they haven't been as impressive. They haven't looked, we were expecting the U.S. to kind of look like Canada almost, right? Going into this tournament. That was going to be just kind of 1-2, that they were just going to knock everybody down. It hasn't been the case. So this Sweden team has enough NHL talent to where if they can get, a 5-1, 5-0, 6-0 win against Latvia, they can easily move on and upset the U.S. So that's the way I'm looking at it here. I got Sweden team total. Do have a goal prop that I'll talk about later in the bargain bin in this game.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, that's I could see that. Like, if Latvia is in this game, this has real overtime potential, because I've seen this before with Latvia when they pulled upsets at the World Hockey Championship, when they beat Canada at the World Juniors. I think it was last year, and I think it was an overtime game. If they're in the game, there's going to be a real chance this goes beyond 60. But if they're not in the game, it's a damn good chance our bet that we kind of talked about here, Sweden team total over, cashes. That if they're out of this game, they're giving up 5. Here to this Sweden team that maybe got their wake-up call offensively. I've got to think, Alex, I'll ask you. It's got to be Jacob Markstrom, doesn't it? He was in net for the win against Slovakia. Gustafsson was more than shaky enough against both Italy and Finland. They barely beat Italy with him in net, and he gave up that awful goal. And even the second goal was weak that Italy scored against Philip Gustafsson. It was a short side goal under his arm. He should have had it. I don't think he was great against Finland when they lost 4-1. Markstrom, they got the win, 5-3. He played certainly better than Gustafsson. I think if you're Sweden, you just got to say, you know what? Tough shit, Philip Gustafsson. You may have started the tournament as our number 1 goalie, but we saw a little bit more reliability on Markstrom in the Slovakia win that we're going to rock with him now moving forward. So I think it's going to be Markstrom. Do you agree with that?
if only that team had someone who had played very well for the first half of the NHL season and looks like he could be an absolute talent in the National Hockey League for years to come. If only you had that guy in your system. And oh wait, yeah, you do. You had Jesper Wallstedt as your third string goalie. You probably should have given him one of those games and maybe knocked the rust off of him, and he could have been the guy to carry you through. But I digress. Also might be a St. Louis Blue, and we'll talk about that next week. But yeah, Markstrom's the guy you have to roll with. You can't trust Gustafsson at this point. He's been shaky against teams that he's supposed to shut down. And, like I said, you have to live and die now with the two goalies that you have played so far. The better of the two right now is Markstrom, in my opinion. So I agree with you.
There we go. All right. So there you go. Trailmax is what I like, especially for Latvia, as far as goal. I keep thinking Teddy Bluger at some point might score too, but he's had a pretty quiet. Trail Mix is the guy to go with. He's been rocking it. He's been producing. He's up on the top line, so he's getting the looks. He's getting the opportunities. And again, the price remains great for Trail Mix as well, as far as his goal props. Plus 550 at BetMGM alone, for him to find the back of the net here for Latvia. Plus 575 at FanDuel. So, good prices there as far as him to find the back of the net. I think for Sweden, too, when you look at their props in this game, I think it's a Gabe Landeskog spot. I trust him in big games. I trust him in big spots. I think he's got that kind of mentality. He's got that kind of makeup. He's just barely bargain bin price worthy at FanDuel, plus 300. That he could be someone that ends up striking and finding the back of the net. Not saying your William Nylanders can't have a big game, or Kempe, or Forsberg. And I probably like Eriksson Ek again now that he finally got on the board against Slovakia in the last game, although it's plus 190 for him. Lucas Raymond, all those guys are good choices. But if you're looking for a little value, I start looking at the likes of Dahlin at plus 290, Landeskog at plus 300. That's kind of where I start to get interested, with a little more down the board options for this Sweden team.
My daily $8 short trend with the bargain bins has certainly carried over into this Olympics, because I liked Joel Eriksson at the game before he scored. I like Tage Thompson in the spot. He scores the next game. There's been at least 5 guys that I've had this tournament where they've scored the next fucking game. So, but I'm with you on Landeskog. I think he's one of those guys that steps up in big games. We've seen that with him in Colorado. I think he can do that with Trey Kroner too. So, I would be on him to score a goal.
All right, good stuff. There you have it. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. Again, hit the like button. As always, with all these Olympic hockey shows, they are exclusive for the first 4 to 6 hours, something in that range for our Patreon members, and then we'll make them publicly accessible on the YouTube channel to everybody else. But it's just a little perk and bonus to the Patreon members here during this Olympic hockey tournament, saying, hey, you get first crack at each show. And we thank you guys for tuning in. So appreciate that. Hit the like button. WizardSportsPicks.com. Check out the website. Daily premium picks. Long-term subscriptions available. Check that out at WizardSportsPicks.com. And, of course, Patreon.com/IceGuys. Just $10 per month. We thank everyone for being on board. You've gotten our betting card every day during the Olympic hockey. You've gotten some bonus card in basketball from me, NBA, college basketball, a little bit during the break as well. We'll continue to do that until the NHL resumes, plus the Olympic hockey card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Our Patreon members get first access to our Olympic hockey pre-recorded shows for several hours before we make them publicly available on the YouTube channel. All that and much more, all available for just $10 per month. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. So get on board. Not too late. Never too late. It's a great value. $10 per month. Patreon.com/IceGuys.
Just want to make a quick update about the goalie charts that will be up this weekend. I want to wait for this tournament to kind of wrap up, make sure everyone's healthy and safe, and we get everything lined up as far as depth charts go. But I also will have some numbers as far as how many games are left for each team, home and road splits. There will be some extra bonus features in the goalie chart coming up. So stay tuned for that. That will be up sometime around Sunday or maybe Monday when we finally get that finalized over at patreon.com/IceGuys. Also want to check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. It's getting a little warmer around certain parts. I know we've been hitting the 50s here in Minnesota. Spring's right around the corner. It's a great time to get a t-shirt, get a cap, maybe a light jacket. We've got all of those things for you at the Ice Guys store. That's over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. No sales as of right now, but we will have some sales coming up certainly toward the end of the month and into March as well. So definitely get ready for the second half of the NHL season with some merch from the Ice Guys right now. That's over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, bargain bin special of the night, best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Thanks to all our sponsors, and make sure you check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. We're off the schneid, finally. Yesterday, Timmy Stu for Germany, coming through for me with one of the bargain bin specials that I used on Sunday. Hopefully a little momentum now as we get into the elimination round and the playoff round, the medal round, whatever you want to call it, starting on Tuesday. Bargain bin special of the night, Alex, what do you got?
Let's go to that last game. We just talked about Latvia taking on Sweden, and they said we think Sweden gets goals. At least I feel like that. Over 4.5 is a really nice look. But I think 2 of those goals will come from one in Adrian Kempe. You can get him to score 2 or more goals at 10-1 over at FanDuel. Like I said, he's just one of those guys who he, like you said, with Landeskog, who's a guy I like as well. But Kempe, he's one of those guys that can really stand up and deliver for his team in a big spot, big moment. And I like him to get 2 goals here against Latvia. So Adrian Kempe, 2 goals plus 1,000. That's my bargain bin special.
Mine, I'm only going with one here today for Tuesday. It's from that same game, and we were buzzing around using him for bargain bin special a couple of times, and we didn't. And sure enough, he's now scored in multiple games. We're going back to him, one of the best nicknames in hockey. Trail Mix. Give me Edwards Trollmax, alias Trail Mix for Latvia. Plus 575 is the best price at FanDuel for him to find the back of the net. I don't think Sweden's shutting out Latvia because, look, Sweden gave up 2 goals to Italy. Italy got 2 goals against them. Finland got 4 goals against them. Slovakia got 3 goals against them. I don't think this is going to be a clean sheet for Sweden in this game. I do think Latvia can find the back of the net, and if there's anyone that's capable of doing it for Latvia right now, it is our man, Trail Mix. So there you go. Edwards, Trollmax, Latvia, plus 575 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Go with one of those early morning games, and I think it's going to be kind of a sleepy pace to it. Italy, Switzerland, give me the under 6.5. Shop around. Best price available is plus 110 over at FanDuel. Don't lay a price if you don't have to. Get the plus money with that. But I like Italy, Switzerland to go under the total of 6.5 is my best bet.
There you go. Switzerland, Italy under 6.5 for Alex B. Smith with his best bet here for Tuesday in playoff round action. My best bet, I'm going to go to Czechia. This is the 10:40 a.m. Eastern game. Czechia, Denmark, over 6, minus 118 with the full game over here. I was debating it. I was going to either go with this or the Czechia team total over. But I don't know. Czechia's blue line and defending has been leaky. They've been given up turning over the puck. They've been hemmed in their D zone. They've just been crossed up with coverage in their own zone multiple times. If France is making you screw up multiple times in your own end, that's concerning enough that I think Denmark can do some damage here and help us out with the full game over in this game. So that is what I'm going to go with. Czechia, I think, is going to light it up. I don't trust Freddie Anderson. I think Czechia will end up scoring their share of goals, and they're due for an offensive outbreak, especially David Pasternak. They could get it here, but I think Denmark's going to find the back of the net too. So Czechia, Denmark, over 6, minus 118 for my best bet here for Tuesday in playoff round action in the men's Olympic hockey tournament. Great stuff. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Hit the like button on the way out. And a reminder with the remaining schedule, we will have the Wednesday quarterfinal show available for Patreon members, first access, 10 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday night. We'll have that posted for Wednesday quarterfinal action. We'll have the Friday semifinal show posted Thursday at approximately 4 p.m. Eastern time. And then Saturday, we'll be recording it for the bronze and the gold medal game, and that'll be up around 1 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday for Patreon members, and then we'll make it available hours later to everybody on the YouTube channel. So that's the schedule for the rest of the tournament. We hope to see you for it. A reminder, the Ice Guys is with you throughout the men's Olympic hockey tournament, and if you can't watch the show on YouTube, you can obviously download the podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday. Enjoy the playoff round, and good luck. And we'll be back for the quarterfinal round on Wednesday right here on the Ice Guys.